days that broke her. Mary hears the crowd before she sees the cross. She's pushing through the streets of Jerusalem. People are everywhere, pressing, shouting, blocking the road. Roman soldiers are clearing a path with spear shafts. And somewhere ahead of her, her son is carrying the beam they're going to kill him on. She is maybe 50 years old. She has walked from Galilee to be here for Passover, the same trip she has made every year since she was a girl. But this year is different. For months, the whispers have been getting louder. The religious authorities want him dead. And last night, in the middle of the night, they took him. She couldn't stop it. She couldn't see him during the trial. She couldn't reach him when Pilate handed him over. She can only follow the noise now, the sound of wood dragging on stone and a crowd that smells blood. This is Easter, not the way you've heard it. Through her eyes, through her body. From the cross to the empty tomb, the 3 days that shattered the most famous mother in history. And she was there for every hour of it. She reaches Golgotha, the place of the skull, a bare rocky hill outside the city walls where Rome executes criminals in public. Because the point of crucifixion isn't just death. It's display. 3 crosses. The middle one is his. John's gospel says she stood near the cross, not watching from a distance, near it. Close enough to hear him breathe, close enough to see the nails, close enough to smell the blood drying in the afternoon heat. Put yourself behind her eyes. What does she see? His body is barely recognizable. He has been beaten, scourged with a Roman flagrum, a whip embedded with metal and bone that tears the skin in strips. His face is swollen. A circle of thorns has been pressed into his scalp. The blood runs down his forehead, into his eyes. She knows this body. She washed it as a baby. She rubbed it with salt the night he was born in a room meant for animals. She nursed it. She held it when he was sick. She watched it grow from a boy to a man in a stone house in Nazareth. And now Roman iron is driven through its wrists and feet, and it hangs in the sun on a hill where strangers walk past and stare. The old man Simeon told her this would happen. 40 days after the birth, in the temple, holding 2 turtle doves because she couldn't afford a lamb. A sword will pierce your own soul. She has carried those words for 33 years. This is the sword. He speaks. She hears his voice, broken, barely a whisper, each word costing a breath he doesn't have. He looks down at her and says, "Woman, behold your son." Then he looks at John, the young disciple standing beside her, and says, "Behold your mother." He is giving her away. With his last strength, he is making sure someone will take care of her. Not his brothers, they're not here. Not Peter, he's hiding. John, the youngest disciple, the only man who stayed. From this moment, she belongs to John's household. Her son, with nails through his hands, is reorganizing family arrangements. Because even dying, he is thinking about her. If you're starting to see Easter differently through Mary's eyes, subscribe and stay. Because the next 48 hours are the part nobody talks about. The sky goes dark, not sunset. It's the middle of the afternoon. Something else? The air changes. The crowd goes quiet. He cries out once, loud, raw, a sound that will live inside her chest for the rest of her life. Then his head drops. The soldiers check. He's dead. One drives a spear into his side to be certain. Blood and water pour out. It's Friday afternoon. The Sabbath begins at sunset. There is no time for a proper burial. A man named Joseph of Arimathea, wealthy, a secret follower, asks Pilate for the body. Permission is granted. They take him down. Someone holds his weight while the nails are pulled. Picture Mary's hands at this moment. She may have held him. The text doesn't say. But every tradition, Catholic, Orthodox, Protestant art, shows her receiving his body. The Pietà, a mother holding her dead son in her lap, the same lap where she held him as a baby. His body is wrapped quickly in clean linen. Joseph has a tomb nearby, new, cut from limestone rock, never used. They carry him inside. They lay him on the stone shelf. Nicodemus has brought myrrh and aloe, 75 pounds of spices packed around the body. It's not a full burial preparation. There isn't time. The sun is going down. The stone is rolled across the entrance. The tomb is sealed. Mary watches. She marks the location. She will come back, but not tomorrow. Tomorrow is the Sabbath. And the law says rest. Saturday, the day nobody preaches about. There is no sermon for this day, no hymn, no celebration. This is the day between the death and the resurrection. And for Mary, it may have been the longest day of her life. She is in John's house now, a room in Jerusalem. The Sabbath means she cannot travel. She cannot work. She cannot go to the tomb. She cannot finish preparing his body. She can only sit. Picture the silence. The oil lamp burns. The sounds of Jerusalem outside, distant, muffled, ordinary. People going to the temple for Passover. Families gathering for the Seder meal, lamb being roasted, wine being poured, songs being sung. And in this room, a mother sits with a memory of nails and blood and a body she couldn't properly bury. She has done this before, waited in impossible circumstances and trusted God. She waited 9 months carrying a baby no one believed was from God. She waited in Egypt while Herod's soldiers searched for her child. She waited 30 years in Nazareth while her son grew up in a carpenter's house. But those waits had hope at the end. This one has a sealed tomb. Did she believe he would rise? The disciples didn't. They were hiding, afraid they'd be arrested next. Thomas would need to see and touch the wounds before he believed. Peter, who had walked on water, was somewhere in the city weeping because he denied knowing Jesus 3 times in a single night. If the inner circle doubted, what was going through her mind? She remembered the angel in Nazareth. She remembered Simeon's prophecy. She remembered her own Magnificat. He has scattered the proud, he has lifted up the humble. Did she hold on to those words in this dark room on this impossible Saturday? The Bible doesn't say. It gives us no verse for Mary on Saturday. Just silence. Just waiting. Just a mother in a sealed tomb and the longest Sabbath in history. Sunday, before first light. The Sabbath ended at sunset Saturday, but it was too late and too dark to go to the tomb then. So the women wait through one more night. At the earliest possible moment, while it is still dark, they go. Mary Magdalene is there. Mary, the mother of James. Salome. They carry spices, myrrh, aloe, perfumed oils. The burial preparation they couldn't finish on Friday. This is a woman's task. Washing the body, anointing it, wrapping it properly in clean linen. The final act of love. They are walking toward a dead body. They are discussing who will roll the stone away for them because it's too heavy for 3 women to move. And then they arrive. The stone is already moved. The tomb is open. They look inside. The body is gone. The linen wrappings are folded, empty, 2 figures in white. A message that rewrites everything. He is not here. He is risen. Mary Magdalene runs to tell Peter and John. They come. They look. They leave. Mary Magdalene stays. She stands in the garden crying. A man she doesn't recognize asks why she's weeping. She thinks he's the gardener. And then he says her name. Mary. And she knows. And somewhere in Jerusalem, in John's house, in a room where a mother has been sitting in silence for 2 days, the news arrives. He is alive. We don't have a verse for this moment. The Bible doesn't record what Mary, the mother of Jesus, did when she heard. No gospel gives us her reaction. No writer describes her face, her hands, her voice when the words reached her. But we know who she is. We know what she has survived. The angel, the manger, the flight to Egypt, 30 years of silence in Nazareth, the rejection, the cross, the nails, the spear, the tomb, the Saturday that lasted forever, and now, a Sunday morning, and her son is alive. The sword that Simeon promised had gone all the way through her, and she was still standing. She was always standing. This is Easter through the eyes of the woman who carried him, raised him, watched him die, and lived to hear the words that changed everything. He is risen. If this changed how you see Easter, subscribe. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. And tell me, what hit you the hardest? The cross? The Saturday silence? Or the moment the news arrived? I read every comment. I'll see you in the next one.